today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
What's new now is we're developing direct consumer capabilities with the tools. So let's say, for instance, you buy a product. Let's say you do the Microsoft Xbox subscription service, which we support through our capabilities. And then you want to go buy that next thing. You have the ability on Citizens Pay to go use Citizens Pay in another instance. And in that instance with Microsoft, it could be in any other thing that they make available under Citizens Pay.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zack Miller. With all the excitement around buy now, pay later, Citizens Bank stands out among a small number of banks with an offering in the space. The firm has been providing point-of-sale financing since 2016 and has issued over $6 billion to more than 5 million accounts. Citizens Pay is expanding in the U.S. through more partnerships with merchants in new verticals like health and fitness retailers and home contractors. I'm joined on the podcast today by Eric Schuppenhauer, Citizens President of Consumer Lending and National Banking. He shares some more insight on Citizens Pay and how the bank is positioned in the space. We discuss trends in the industry and what's propelling consumers and businesses to adopt this form of payment. Lastly, Eric delves into his expansion strategy for the firm and the bank's plans to further embed its services into its partners' businesses in the future. Eric Schuppenhauer is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
My name is Eric Schuppenhauer. I lead consumer lending and our national expansion here at Citizens Bank. And prior to this, had been at Capital One and at JP Morgan Chase, as well as a variety of other roles prior to that.
So we're here to talk about the rebranding of Citizens Pay. Can we talk about sort of the history of that product and what's new now?
Yeah, so Citizens Pay, we're very excited about the launch of Citizens Pay. And in particular, this is not something that we're new at. We've been in this business, the point of sale merchant space, since 2016. And what Citizens Pay enables us to do is to provide a solution to customers that allows them to go to any merchant as we go forward and provide that ubiquity of experience. So while we've really honed our product to date on helping merchants grow their business, this is just another way for merchants to be able to grow, as well as customers to be able to use another form of payment beyond credit card. What we've learned is that customers don't really want to open up a next credit card, take on more debt. They want to have a better transparency of the capability that's provided. And a lot of times that's through a point of sale solution. And that point of sale solution is not just an online experience, although it actually has its maybe founding components in an online environment. We're finding that it's very powerful in a physical sense as well. So physical stores. And while, again, I think it'll be dominated by online experience. Mm-hmm. The reality is it'll be as meaningful in a physical sense as we go forward.
So you've been in this business for years. Like, what's new now with this announcement?
Yeah, what's new now is we're developing direct consumer capabilities with the tools. So let's say, for instance, you buy a product. Let's say you do the Microsoft Xbox subscription service, which we support through our capabilities. And then you want to go buy that next thing. You have the ability on Citizens Pay to go use Citizens Pay in another instance. And in that instance with Microsoft, it could be in any other thing that they make available under Citizens Pay. And then so you have an open line with this capability to be able to go anywhere and do anything with your financing option. But it's usually single payment. And where it's single product, single payment type of approach that just provides a level of transparency and also make sure that the customer doesn't feel like they're maybe getting out of control with spending in any particular way.
So in our coverage of this space, it definitely seems like exactly what you're saying. It's methodology for customers who don't necessarily want to take on more debt, and it does feel more controllable, I guess, than revolving credit card debt. Are you seeing that from your demographics? Like who's using Citizens Pay?
We see all demographics using it. So while it does skew, to a younger audience because they're more digitally native. We're seeing that, especially with COVID-19, a lot of people are starting to use this capability. They're finding it more as they're shopping online, and it's just easy. It's understandable, and it's seamless in terms of how a customer can just utilize it to make a larger ticket purchase. And from a merchant standpoint, it's a win as well, because then you've got customers potentially upsizing their cart, which is a win-win. A win for the customer because they feel like they've got really clear terms, an easy experience embedded in the product experience, as well as the ability to buy a little bit more than they would have otherwise have done. And the merchant wins because they sell more product. So it's a fantastic product all the way around.
And it's been a very exciting time in the whole industry. You had one of your competitors, Affirm, go public this month. I know Klarna is gearing up for an IPO. How do you envision Citizens, position in the marketplace vis-a-vis some of your competition?
Yeah, well, what's distinctive about Citizens providing this is we're one of the only banks in the space, and with a bank comes the liquidity, the funding capability to provide a lower cost in this than many of these other players are able to do just with bank level financing. We also have a tremendous amount of credit and fraud capability, because I think people underestimate, that the slick front ends are one thing. It's the capability that sits beneath for you to be able to run this in a really high quality way, to make instantaneous decisions that are also safe as we look at the credit and fraud profile that occur in the marketplace. And our fraud tools and our credit tools are very substantial based on our years and years of lending experience. We also don't just take this as a one size fits all approach where we just stamp, here's the solution. We tailor certain solutions for merchants. So in a lot of the discussion, what our merchants have been telling us is, we like the amount of time you spend with us to help get it right, and to be about our product flow, not about yours. And so that's been a point of distinction. Now, I think anybody can do that. You don't have to be a bank to do that. But it's the approach that we have selected as we've gone to market. And by the way, as we think about this with a customer first mentality, if you kind of put the customer at the top of this thing, all the other stuff, is fantastic in terms of bringing that solution forward. And we think it's distinctive. And it will continue to set us apart as we grow. By the way, we wish all the others a lot of good luck. I think there's a huge market setting up here, Zack. Some estimates put $250 billion total addressable market inside of the U.S. and that seems like very substantial. I think we all have a lot of room to compete in.
And I guess given that market size, do you envision other banks sort of following your lead?
It's interesting. We've seen a lot of banks indicate that they have an interest. But I would say credit and fraud models have to be a tad bit different than just pure credit card. And so that's one of the things that they probably stare at. I think also in some banking context, it's whether they're going to cannibalize some component of their card base. We have a relatively small card portfolio, so we thought about how to go create a next gen business without much concern about what it would do with our card portfolio. I would say it's something that we would expect other banks would come into. Some banks have actually started to venture in based on taking some component of their card business and leveling the payments across their for their customers, taking it off the revolving line and putting it into a more fixed line. But we think folks will tiptoe in around this area. We've got a pretty solid foothold. We're happy with our foothold. And as I said, there's a big market that's emerging. I think there's a lot of space for a lot of players.
Yeah, I definitely understand that concern for cannibalization of the card portfolio. Do you guys see synergies between these products, both on the merchant side and on the consumer side? Like, is this a way in for new customers, or is this like an additional product or additional service that you're giving existing customers?
Exactly, Zack. Well put. And that's the way we think about it. It's about the customer. So to the extent that we can actually create some level of of connectivity with the customer base and start to serve their needs in more ways than maybe just that single point of sale. So the notion of Citizens Pay is giving them some ability for repeat behavior, upgrades, single use installment loans, as well as the ability to do some other capabilities. That's great. But there are other lending products and there are other things that they may want to do for which we have capabilities. And we would expect that they would want to have us serve those needs in time. And it's the network effect of it all, right? And that's the way we think about the solution, but with a customer lens. What is their need? Not to just go cross-sell the living heck out of them, but to lead them into that in a highly digital way that serves their needs.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess before we jump into Citizens expansion in general, I want to ask another question about Citizens Pay. I think we published today that you've issued more than $6 billion worth of loans through this product. How does that compare size-wise, I guess, to some of the other lending that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so it's relatively small still in the size of some of our other lending, mainly because it's small ticket purchases. So even though it might allow somebody to upsize their cart, the reality is that it's still for smaller ticket items than, say, refinancing an education or a mortgage. And so from a dollar standpoint, but in terms of number of units, it's very substantial. It's probably one of our highest unit originations in the bank on an annual basis. And we'd expect that it's just going to go and grow exponentially from here as we add new partners to the platform. And we have some pretty big launches that we're preparing to announce this year, where we would anticipate that the number of units will grow and grow and grow. But as you look across the competitor set, I still think it's very substantial relative to some other competitors. They're getting a lot of the attention in the space right now.
Do you see some of those monoline competitors moving into banking services? I guess the opposite direction from how you guys got into this space.
Yeah, we're seeing that already in some of the announcements, and we would expect that that's obviously the natural play as you look to monetize or commercialize the customer base, the network effect of it all. So we expect that that'll happen. I think you have to have some really great capabilities and some distinctiveness for people to pick you for that, and I think we're all gonna to race to see if we can provide that level of high quality experience. But yes, that's a natural tendency, and I think some have already announced some intent to do that.
Great. So maybe now's a good time to shift focus onto the other hat that you wear, which is a broader hat. Can you talk about some of the initiatives you've embarked on with Citizens, I guess, over the past year in terms of that national expansion?
Yeah. So you hit it earlier, which is, there's one play, which is the point of sale space. We're very excited. It was an area in the 2015, 2016 time period. Nobody was in it. And we decided, let's venture there. And when you take a look at the Citizens story more generally, we also did that in a couple of other areas. We went into education refinance, and while you had a couple of fintechs in that space, we decided we would play too. And many banks were not playing in that space and providing that service to customers. Another is we decided to double down on mortgage in a time period where a lot of banks were fleeing from mortgage, and it was being dominated again by fintechs or others, because we thought we could do it better and smarter and cheaper as we go forward. And so now you look at that and you say, okay, we've created a lot of distinctive capability. How do we curate that entire experience to provide a one-stop shop or one-stop capability to enable our customers, whether they come to us through a point of sale solution, which is a powerful entry in, or they come to us through refinancing their student debt and achieving lifetimes of savings, or they buy that first home. We want to be there for customers, and we want to be there on a national level. But we also realize you can't just do that by saying, hey, we're a bank or a financial services provider, pick us. You've got to create powerful experiences that are meaningful. And so that's what we're working on, is to try to figure out how you become much more in touch with how they want to live life, and you're there with them, which will take us right back to the subject of this podcast, which is embed yourself in the products and services and the experiences that customers love. And I think that's a winning strategy. And so that's where we're focused, is we have all the capability and how to embed ourselves such that people can live life, and we'll help them take care of much of the rest.
So what are the, I guess, form factors that takes, that idea of sort of following people along through their lives and being there when they need them, when they need you?
Yeah, so I think that the powerful part of that is first understanding who's your target segment, and how do you want to be there for them, and then picking the places where you know, and this could be through partnerships and other capabilities where, and you've covered this in some other podcasts that you've done, where customers are already going there, and you don't have to lead them to you. You go live where they are. And, you know, some of the powerful brands we're doing business with in the point of sale space are powerful entries in, but also looking for those moments that matter, and how to embed yourself in the products and services that people use is going to be a large part of our national strategy as we go forward.
That's exciting. And are there concerns about, you know, the age-old concern about becoming dumb pipes? Like, how do you address that to make sure that, you know, it's a branded experience, that people think of Citizens as they use some of those other brands and engage in other experiences?
Yeah, I think the component is you want to be the entity that is creating the distinctiveness, not participating on the entity that's creating the distinctiveness. So that's absolutely the focus of this. And to a certain degree, when you create this phenomenon that you're there for them, I think there are other platform plays that set up as we think forward. Again, we're still on the journey. We have the powerful things we need to do in the here and now, but the future component of this is extremely exciting. And I like to say, and you cover this quite a bit, which is what's before us is not as powerful as the things that we will seek to learn and understand as everything unfolds. And I say to my team all the time, what we don't know is more powerful than what we do know at the moment. So we just have to be head looking out on the horizon. We have to be very thoughtful about that. We have to take a few bets, maybe more than a few. Some will pay off, some will end up scrapping. But that's the whole theory of this invention as we go forward.
So a portfolio of bets. To your credit and your team's credit, forging ahead with not necessarily knowing what it's going to look like on the other end, I think is very brave and very very future oriented. And I guess, how deeply does that sort of run within the Citizens organization? Like, what you're embarking on, like how deep and broad is that within the entire company?
Yeah, it runs deep. Although, it starts with our CEO, who is very visionary in his own right, head of our consumer bank, who, was in the founder of our POS business here in Citizens Bank back in the 2015, 2016 time period, and the great relationship we have with Apple, and forging the relationship we have with Microsoft. And so really, really a visionary in his own right. And then throughout the entire organization, there's a drumbeat of continual invention. And by the way, you have to also have, and one of the things that holds a lot of organizations back is the state of their tech. We've hired, and we have a whole new capability of creating quickly, prototyping into the marketplace, bringing things to market through APIs and microservices, unbundling a lot of the core legacy technology. That holds a lot of people back from doing what I described. And so it's in the heart of that part of our organization, the technology organization, running side by side with our product managers. And then it also relies heavily on your data environment. And so we've brought some great talent in from a data perspective, because a lot of organizations are held back by their data structure and the ability to do what we're talking about. And once again, that's a place that we've massively invested in over the years. And so it runs deep, and it's a mentality. Now here's the other thing. We don't have the luxury sometimes of just making these bets and hoping that they'll pay off, we have to have some level of believability.
Sure.
And so we do a lot of testing from a believability factor before we take it to market.
It's really interesting, Eric. As you say that, I'm thinking like what the future Citizens brand looks like, and it, obviously, if you're talking about embedded experiences, it's a lot different than what we've grown to think of as a bank. How would you describe, what, given these bets that you're taking, these directional, tested bets, like what does the Citizens brand sort of represent a few years out from now?
Yeah, I'd go back to we in many respects are a fintech inside of banking in the way we think and the way we operate. And it's proven out by the big bets we've taken to date that have actually really paid off big for us. And we have to continue those forward, like point of sale and the Citizens Pay launch. Those are things that we started 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And those are the things that will propel us to be able to make the next set of bets as we go forward. So I think we've got the proof points that we're pretty good at picking our places, going to the white space in the market, and making it come to life. And we'll get a couple of things wrong, but hopefully we'll get more right in this tested set of bets. And so from a standpoint, I hope people know us as a really forward-thinking company as they come to know us in that national brand that's empowering our B2B customers and our consumers, the consumer customers, in powerful ways to be able to live life, and we help take care of the rest.
Sounds like we'll be hearing a variety of Citizens press releases this year. One last question, the remaining time we have. What was your professional New Year's resolution for 2021?
Yeah, well, that's a darn good question. The professional is to move even faster. I wake up every single day anxious about the pace of change and the tipping points all around us. And as I look at the big set of bets, being able to do that faster in a more agile fashion, and then another professional bet or professional goal, I think it was actually given to me by my wife, is, hey, figured out how to be less anxious. But it's exciting. And how do you end up being one of the winners in these exciting times is just the pace of play.
Eric, thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet Podcast today.
Yeah, thank you, Zack.